Everyone knows the most valuable resource on this planet is time. Regardless of all the wealth and fortune you have, your mortality reminds you that we all have a limited amount of time here on Earth. The demand for time-saving devices nowadays is intense, and with the advent of smart home devices, domestic robots, and the ever-nearing future of self-driving cars, it would seem that nowadays, people have a surplus of free time on their hands. More time to create art, more time to travel, more time to change the world. With machines taking over all the monotonous facets of life, more people should be taking initiative and making change more than ever before. However, it doesn't seem like that's happening. Why is that? We think that this idea doesn't matter. This doesn't affect me. I have control over what I do. But largely or minusculely, small computer-aided experiences or issues that you may not be exposed to, while not immediately impacting you in a science fiction-like magnitude described in dystopian movies, is chipping away at the world's free thought and independence from machines. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it is an interesting thing to think about. Let's take a look at something simple and something we don't usually acknowledge. The rapid modernization of the GPS around the year 2000 put positioning systems in almost all cars. And the development of the iPhone made tracking the quickest route more easier, and we can more efficiently find the quickest route. And then nowadays, getting from one place to another is incredibly expedited. A trip that would have taken my dad and me over 30 minutes can now be cut down to just half the time, with intelligent finding of the quickest route. And we see that as such an incredible feat. And soon we may even be able to travel from point A to point B without even looking down onto the road. But that's what driving should be, a means to an end. After all, why take the risk of going off in the wrong direction? All you'll see is just more boring urban sidewalks. Back when I was younger, if you made a wrong turn, it was a chance to discover. A missed turn while traveling to an ordinary destination discovered a park or a lake. As we looked out across the map, lying across the dashboard, while trying to find a remote location somewhere in the middle of nowhere, we found new roads, new cities, new parks, and more. And as GPS systems migrated from tools to occasionally help us navigate long-distance road trips and began to become an everyday appliance, it unbeknowingly started to take away more and more of our free thought. Another fun example is email. Email has become so impersonal that we don't really even think when replying to messages. If someone sends you something, you don't need to make a thoughtful response, but just a quick message. Nobody knows this better than Google and its AI. You may have noticed that when you get an email, Google gives you a list of responses that it thinks you might want to send. And more often than not, it is something that I would use to respond to it. And if this isn't a warning sign, I don't know what is. Convenience has run out of problems to fix, so it just cuts out the middleman and does what it knows we are going to do anyways, saying that convenience itself has conditioned us to say. And not only does the rise of hyperconvenience affect us, it also affects businesses and society in general. We don't think much about it, but think for a minute about how much work it takes to get, say, a $5 grilled chicken sandwich from farm to table. The process is far too long for you to even wrap your head around. But in most cases, it gets served to you within 3 to 5 minutes. It's pretty disconcerting. Why are we so isolated? But be grateful. It's just one less thing we have to worry about. We don't even have to acknowledge what happens behind the scenes. Too bad that disconnecting us from where our food is coming from is actually bad. Obviously, the rise of hyperconvenience in its food has its effects on you, such as, in some cases, turning people with overpacked schedules to turn away from healthy and home-cooked food options and contributing to the global obesity epidemic, but there is also just a great effect on society. If it took a fast food restaurant nearly enough time to make it as it would take you to make it from scratch, you would be severely dissatisfied. This expectation should seem unreal. What justification is there for you to get it in less time than it would take you to make it yourself? But this is what they're here for. It's just normal. And it's not like this is doing anybody any harm, right? Let's take a look at our chicken sandwich example. Not only are the people serving you this food not being paid enough to escape the poverty line, the farmers raising the chicken, farming the wheat, are trapped in inescapable debts to meat and food companies. Being a farmer in the modern day is so much different than the free-range agrarian farm life of the past. Small farmers now lie in enormous debts to meat companies like Tyson for meat and Monsanto for grains and so on. The debts and corporate control of small farmers in America doesn't even compare to the domination of multinational corporations in India, where in these countries, seed patents and other predatory practices destroy farms, and in which 70% of their population relies on. And this ruined lives and created a dramatic increase in suicides over in India. And the underlying reason for this is convenience. Without this control over farmers' lives, foods would cost more, and for the giant businesses, it could create a level playing field that could let other companies, smaller companies, have a chance to compete with corporations. With selling meals for so little and so quickly, decreases the competition. The high expectations you put upon your food service are only a result of this desire for high convenience, not only from you, but from corporations. This doesn't necessarily affect you, but take a look at the life of somebody you know. The fact is that most of these changes come subconsciously and slowly. The big problem with how we live our lives arises from the automated schedule. We wake up at a specific time set by our alarm clock and usually spend our days or weeks more or less the same way we spent them yesterday or last week. And the stereotype of somebody's life being dictated by the clock is more true than ever. At first, there doesn't seem to be a problem with that. A formatted schedule would help you organize your day more efficiently and maximize free time. As such, most jobs, whether in accounting or in a warehouse, are mandated by strict schedules and rules. Not so bad, right? The only problem with this is the mentally crushing confines of a 9-to-5 work week. The poor working conditions, along with the confinements of the schedule and the general lack of human interaction in these work conditions that causes a depressing motivation, also lead to depression or mainly due to the monotonous tasks to complete and the restricting working environment of many lower down workers that discourage creative thought in favor of easy jobs that don't necessarily require training. These work conditions, mostly for lower paying jobs, is directly related to the idea of selling as low as possible that more modern hyper-convenience relies on. And as such, a requirement for logical thought and creativity has certainly declined in low-wage jobs ever since the Industrial Revolution. In the age of surveillance, technology, and of course efficiency, tracking and restricting workers is at an all-time high. Take, for instance, the creative expression of craftsmen being taken away by the assembly line. The communal bonding that resulted from community farms and shared fields that caused people to need to work together in close communities was replaced by a series of a sense of isolation, as everything we need can be instantly delivered through the internet. This seems to be a common pattern. At one point or another, jobs offering high amounts of creativity and freedom and choice were replaced with jobs that are simple and don't require thought. Chefs were replaced with fast food employees. Independent, self-sufficient farms were ensnared by sharecropping and enslaved by factory farms, and so on. And sure, this makes our lives more convenient, but is it really worth it when so many people are living and working in unfulfilling low-wage work? And is this really the only way to do things? Is the solution to these problems just more convenience by replacing these jobs with machines? All in all, convenience, the tool that got us from complete self-reliance to a society where people's work are specialized to their goals, that took us from working to stay alive full-time to letting us pursue our goals in our own free time, is definitely a tool for social benefit. The power of convenience to free us from doing menial jobs for creative expression and expression is really amazing. But like all things, we need to respect this incredible tool. The tool that got us from these things can just as easily be used to lull us into a state of passiveness, unawareness, and laziness. The same convenience that gave us freedom can also take it away by treating humans as machines. A lot of the problems that we have today are being amplified by the misuse and ignorance of the dangers of convenience. Every once in a while, take a look at how you're using this tool. Are you using it to its fullest potential? Or are you letting it only buffer you? Or even letting it sweep you under, putting you into a sense of apathy or entitlement? Everyone is affected, for the better or for the worse, by this. So it's important that you decide for yourself how you want it to shape you.